I rented my motorcycle out on Twisted Road, and this is what I got back. I thought it was a nice way to make some extra money, and on paper it made sense. But when this came home, well, that sucked. This video is not going to be about the bike itself or the details of my experience with it, so much as the experience of actually renting a bike out with a platform like Twisted Road. I've been a consumer of those products, so I enjoyed different motorcycles from different locales since I've been all around the States and some other countries in Europe, and it was overall a pretty good experience. But renting my own bike out, well, it worked out a couple of times. Well, I guess only once, but that experience was just fine. So I got the bike back at that time in one piece, and I fully expected that was going to be the case going forward because, well, I mean, it's a touring motorcycle. Royal Stars aren't really the sort of bike that you see driven or, well, ridden by the younger crowd. So I expected the types of people that would come to the island and want to rent that bike to be older, more responsible. And that wasn't untrue. It just happened to be a off chance sort of deal. And as you can see, I spent a lot of time on this motorcycle. I rode it around. I took my wife around the island and rode it with friends. Did a lot of low-speed handling with it, and it was a good deal of fun. It was a really great challenge for me. I even went as far as to try to push myself, and as you can see, there were occasions where I had to learn the hard way. But that's what the bike was to me. It was a platform to learn with and to enjoy. And I learned alongside my friends. I even let my friends ride it from time to time. So it wasn't in the greatest of shape. I mean, it's a very old motorcycle in the first place, going on 20 years. And I think that was really the main problem. Renting the bike out was a simple process, and it was perfectly fine. I mean, I missed it for the weekend occasionally. But the fact that it was on the older side and didn't have a lot of the safety features that modern motorcycles have, specifically ABS, just wasn't something I really thought about. But knowing what I know now, I would never have rented it out without it coming with that kind of equipment. And I'll freely admit that the bike really had a lot of value to me on account of how much work I did on it. I mean, it's an old bike, so it took a lot of effort to get roadworthy, to get in good shape, and it took a lot of money too. It was definitely more money spent than I think I had anticipated in the first place. So that was also part of the driving factor behind me wanting to rent it out at all. I'm not made of money, so it was, a compelling reason to make it available to people. And it's an island, so I figured that it was the sort of thing that would be appealing to people that wanted to vacation here. But what ended up happening is the rider that rented it from me that ended up wrecking it, just basically bad circumstances. And this rider was very used to motorcycles that had ABS, had never really trained with bikes for threshold braking, didn't really understand that would be necessary to save themselves from an accident. And unfortunately just made the rookie mistake of locking up the rear brake on the freeway, and down the bike went. And I'm very grateful that he and his wife survived. My wife and I actually visited them in the hospital because they were on an island. They had no family here. So we thought to ourselves, well, what would we want somebody else to do if we were in that position? So we tried to treat them that way. But what ended up happening after that, it was by no fault of Twisted Road, just the process of having to deal with a wrecked vehicle on Oahu is already difficult. The towing companies here are awful. They charge really high, exorbitant fees, and there's no way around that.
And it's a giant pain trying to get your stuff back. It's almost like it was stolen, actually. But once I finally got through that, and Twisted Road did in fact help, the real point of contention that I had with them was that they undervalued the bike, in my opinion. And I think this is really more a problem with the overall valuation of motorcycles or cars, probably, in the grand scheme of things, because they assigned it a value based on how much people pay to buy these things. And the problem with that, especially with a motorcycle like this, in this specific arena of age, you're talking motorcycles that some are roadworthy and have been maintained well, and others are really not. And there's no distinction made when the insurance companies go looking at how much things are sold for. So it really is, well, I guess it kind of highlights that it's just a pretty big scheme, to make money. I'm sure a lot of people know that already. But it just was, it was not what I was expecting. I expected them to be a little bit more deferential toward the fact that it was my personally owned motorcycle. I wasn't running a business, and that they would give me some value there. But, I corresponded with them directly, and you can see the messages here. And after doing that, it left a bad taste in my mouth. I thought, well, here's a company that's making millions of dollars, and they're going to cheap out on somebody that went to an effort to put their motorcycle up, took all the risk, and then ended up getting screwed because their insurance company valued things in a manner that made it a losing proposition. And I get that it's a business venture for most people, and I got a lot of hate from folks. I made a Reddit post, and that's what the CEO of Twisted Road responded to directly. But it was just really disappointing to see that the platform really was just built to further their own ends. And I guess looking back, it just was kind of like, well, yeah, of course, that was how it was. But, not everybody goes into things knowing that kind of stuff. And it's an expensive mistake, and I wish it had turned out differently. It would have been nice if that wasn't the case. So going forward, I think the lesson learned I came away with was, if it's your own personally owned bike, yeah, probably best not to put it up unless you really don't care about it. And even if you are just looking to make a little bit of extra money, maybe you can do that if it's got really good safety features. But I think it's probably best to just let that sort of thing be left to people that are interested from a purely commercial perspective, or be willing to accept the risk of your bike getting wrecked and not getting paid for it. So that's all I've got for you. Thanks for coming and watching. I hope this helps if you're considering putting your bike up on Twisted Road or Rider Share or something like that. Just take my words with a grain of salt. Take them for what they're worth. This was just my experience. Your mileage may vary, and there are many people that have had really great experiences in doing that. So I don't want to detract anyone from taking that on. If that's the sort of venture that you are prepared for, just understand that this could be you. And I really hope it isn't, but it's still a possibility. Thanks again for watching.